have an agent? Yes. They know that script. So
you and I are in two different mindsets, though. I generally believe people don't want to lie to you. Now, I believe they may bend the truth or they may omit certain facts, right? Such as they're going to say they have an agent, but the fact is that they don't actually know who it is and they've just received a couple of emails from them, right?
Or they met a guy in an open
happen.
house, or
met him in an open house.
Somebody
or
showed them a house one
they
time.
Think they know of an agent in their market who they haven't actually talked to yet, and they think they're going to work with them. That comes out as I have an agent sometimes, right?
Yeah. So, and again, I'm not accusing them of lying. Some of them, I'm sure some of them lie to us. Hell, I mean, that's
some do.
The thing. But no, I actually fall exactly where you're at. There's a different level. When I say someone's my client, it's because we've signed some paperwork to that effect. It's not because I showed them a house. It's not because I saw their house. It's because we've signed paperwork that says, I am your agent and you are my client.
Yeah. Good. And I'll even go farther than that. And I'll say, listen, if I'm talking to a lead and they say, through discovery, I have an agent. Great. What have you been, have you gone out with that agent? Yes, that agent is showing me houses. We're going out this weekend and they like that agent. For me, ethically, I'm going to leave it alone. I'm just going to say, great. You know what? Let them do their job. I'm not going to get down to trying to separate myself in there. Me personally, and I teach people how to overcome this stuff, and I teach them ethically. I just teach them my ethics. And my ethics are, if that agent is doing work for you and you like them, I'm going to get out of the way, right? And I'm not going to pursue you. So that's, where I fall. What about you, Brian?
I fall in the same way. And that's why I don't ask the question as blatantly as, I guess, the person who probably yelled at you asked it. I'm doing discovery to give them an opportunity for me to figure out where they're at. The question of, do you have an agent, I feel is a bad question because of lots of things. First of all, if they do want to lie, it's a perfect opportunity to say yes or no. Bam, bam, bam. That's a perfect opportunity for that. The other thing is, to your point earlier, well, a guy showed me a house one time, I think that guy's my agent. Or I met a guy at an open house. He seemed like a nice guy. That's my agent. And that's why I don't want to ask that question, because their interpretation of I have an agent may be different than mine. So instead of asking that question, I want to ask the questions that allow me to figure out the full story.
Yeah. Let's do this. I'm going to ask for feedback in here.
Great.
Eric, Rachel Alderman, Joe Rodriguez, Linda, Eleanor, Joe, Shaquila Mills, Strawberry. I want all you guys to chat in. How do you deal with somebody who says they have an agent? Some version of, I have an agent. I'm thinking of working with this agent. I think I may know who I'm going to work with. Or there's someone that I'm going to be working with. Or I think, whatever it may be, right? I want you to chat in how you guys deal with that. So let's do this, Brian, for everybody here. I can talk about how we deal with that. Some version of that, right? They make some kind of inference that they have or are working with or intend to work with some other agent other than you, right?
Perfect.
It's not necessarily straightforward, I have an agent, I've signed an agreement with them, right? But I'm saying in the world of, hey, will you buy a house with me? The answer is no, because there's some other agent in the picture, right? Hey, will you sell a house with me? The answer is no, because there's some other agent in the picture. Brian, how do you deal with that, or do you want me to go first?
Sure, I'll go first. So if somebody says a buyer, and again, so let me just preface this with, I asked this question, and it's part of discovery for me, is have you looked at it?
Is it, I'm sorry, Brian, to cut you off. Is it different based on the way they deliver that no to you? Like what the scale or severity of that no is?
Is my reaction different?
Yeah, like, so if I say something like, oh, I met somebody in an open house, I think we're going to work with them, versus, hey, my cousin is an agent, I love her, and we've been out to see a couple houses. Is your response any different to those two?
It is, and I'm going to guess yours isn't, just from where we're at, but I don't know.
It's not. Mine isn't, but let's hear yours first.
So if somebody says to me, the first thing is that we have a guy and we like him and great. So one of the things, and this is a script that one of my agents came up with, and really what we're doing is doing some discovery. So we have a VIP buyer program, which basically has 5 components to it. There actually is some pretty good value behind it. But, you know, when somebody says to me, yeah, well, I got a guy. I say, great, you know, they must have an amazing VIP buyer program. The concept behind that is basically, and this is the hard part, you have to shut up after you say that. So, you know, we were talking about Keller Williams before that. Diana Kokoska, who's the head of MAPS, she always said this, that let the silence do the heavy lifting. And I love that concept. If you ask a question and you wait 5 seconds, you don't get something, don't step on yourself, because somebody is going to talk. And if it's you who talks first, you're going to lose. You know, that's one of the scripts that I use. So they must have an amazing VIP buyer program. And then you shut up. 90% of the time, they'll come back and say, no, I don't know what you're talking about. We're talking about VIP buyer program. Now I can go in and I can talk about my VIP buyer program and this. Then I can come back and say, you know, with all that in mind, I would, you know, do you have an agreement signed with this person? Do you, you know, are you committed to this person? Is this something that you for sure you want to do? If not, if so, I completely understand. If not, I'd love to get together, get you signed up for our VIP buyer program, and potentially be your agent.
Got it.
That's one of the ways that we handle it.
Is there any other way that you handle it? So what I heard, just to break it down, is I heard resistance. What you do is you make essentially an offer, right? You say, oh, they must have a really great VIP buyer program, which is, I have a VIP buyer program. This person in their brain thinks, I don't have a VIP buyer program, right? Or I don't know. So
Absolutely.
it creates a hole in their brain, right? They're like, now I need to understand this. Yes. So basically you're offering value is the first question. Yeah. Any other value piece that you do? What do you do for sellers?
For sellers, so if the seller told me I already have an agent?
Yeah, some version of that.
Okay, so it would depend. Obviously, if their house is listed, I need it.
Not listed. No, there's no contract. Okay, perfect. Right? So we don't know whether there is, but they don't say that there is. It's kind of
they're going to say, hey, I've already got an agent that I'm planning on listing.
I've got somebody. I've got somebody.
Absolutely. And so, again, this is going to vary slightly, but let's just assume that their house hasn't been listed before. I would say, great, you know, I completely understand. Out of curiosity, have you ever sold a house before? Yes, no, whatever the case may be. Well, you know, one of the things that we're learning is in 2019 that it's really a good opportunity to interview several people. You know, this is a pretty major purchase or pretty major, you know, transaction that's going on. Your house is worth, you know, approximately $450,000. The only thing I ask is, you know, would you at least entertain me coming over, taking a look at what I do? Here's the thing. If you don't like me, you don't like our marketing, you think the other guy's better, I'll shake your hand, and I appreciate that. I just would love the opportunity to come and spend 30 minutes of time with you and show you what we do. Worst case scenario, you can use that against the other agent. No, something along those lines. I don't always say the end. That was just something that popped in my head. I have to be careful. I get a little off script sometimes. Don't necessarily say the end, the thing at the end.
Hey, as long as you get there, we don't care, right? Great. So that's a buyer and seller. And so with buyer, it is value proposition essentially.
Yep.
And then for seller, it is the sort of giving them some self-doubt or the concept that they should shop around.
Yeah, because the reality is that the majority, I think the statistics aren't, I don't know how old these are, but 62% of sellers list with the first agent they talk to. So, you know, and now here's what it's a real good. Let me tweak this as an expired. So if an expired says that to me, I'm going to follow it up with a question. You know, I completely understand. It sounds like you had a good, you know, you've got somebody in mind. Out of curiosity, I know that your house expired on the MLS. Did you interview multiple agents before you hired your last agent? And the reason I want to ask that is if they said no and it didn't sell, here's an opportunity for me to say, look, you know, this is a situation. You didn't interview multiple people last time. Just throwing it out there, it might be a great idea to just get a different perspective on it. Or again, if we're going to relist with the same agent, you know, I completely understand. Like, I'm sure Bob at Remax is a great guy. I don't know him personally, but I'm sure he's a great guy. But I would love to just spend 30 minutes to present a different approach to marketing, because for whatever reason, and I don't know what the reason was, but for whatever reason, your house didn't sell last time. And I think you owe it to yourself to take a look and see what other options are out there. Does that make sense to you, Dale? Yeah.
Got it. Yep. Okay. So that formula is a similar formula, right? Which is self-doubt. Mm-hmm. Doubt. Something's missing.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's your methodology. So my methodology instead is a little bit different. And we actually have a script that we go through with people. So Brian says, I have an agent. We just do the paraphrase exactly like you said, right? Mm-hmm. Similar to what you learned from Diana Kokoska. You just paraphrase, oh, you have an agent, and stop. See what else pops out of there, right? Perfect. Now, if you say yes, or if you say anything else, it really doesn't matter what you say. The next question that I'm going to ask is, are you committed to that agent? And I'm specifically going to use the word committed, because here's what happens. Committed is sort of like, hey, do you want to get married, right? That's commitment. And what I've found is that people have a psychological response to commitment. That's when they have to, it's like either shit or get off the pot, right? When you put them to it. And believe it or not, when we ask that question, probably about 20 or 30% of those people say no. Believe it or not, right? And if they say no, we're done. Now we go on to discovery, right? You just gave me a hall pass. We're cool. I don't need to ask anything more about that.
Who cares, right?
Yeah. Now you're going to get some people who say yes, right? That's the cousin. That's the I've worked with them in the past. That's the I think they're top dog in the market, right? I've already met with them and they're amazing. I feel comfortable. You're going to get a yes, or then you're going to get the wafflers, right? Here's what you get. Hey, Brian, are you committed to that agent? The waffler is going to be like, well, they've sent me a couple of emails. I met them at an open house. I see their signs all over the place, right? Now, with the yes and the wafflers, no, we don't need to worry about. Yes and wafflers, I'm now going to ask, have you signed anything with that agent? Okay? Because you're going to run into some people who are going to say yes. In that case, I'm done with the conversation, right? Because I have to go.
Right.
But usually you're going to get no. A lot more times you're going to get no. Great. So now here's what I do, and this differs from yours. This is where I'm going to ask, what's the benefit to working with that agent? Essentially, I want to know, what do you think you're getting out of that, right? What are you buying, essentially, right? Yeah. Are you buying expertise? Are you buying a discount? Are you buying relationship? Are you buying whatever it is, right? I want to know what you think you're getting and what you're attracted to before I offer you something.
And I think that's brilliant, because theoretically that person's going to tell you how to sell them.
Exactly. Right. Yep. So my methodology is always don't sell as long as I don't have to. I don't sell until you tell me what to sell you. So for everybody out there, thanks, Jeff Fitzer. That's our two different processes. And Brian has a great one where he's offering value up front and he's causing people to have a psychological hole in their brain that they have to get filled, which I think is great. Mine is, oh, great. Let me pressure test what you said. Let me step on it a couple times, see if it's still there. Now I want you to tell me what the combination is to try to get you over that.
Absolutely. So I'm going to throw a question in there that I use a lot, by the way, and it depends on where we're at in the conversation. But, you know, if I build a little bit of rapport with them before I've gone into this, one of the questions that I love to ask, and it's similar to what Dale's doing, he's doing it at a different point in the conversation, is out of curiosity, what are you looking for in an agent?
Yes.
And I promise you that question in and of itself will get you more transactions than any other question I know.
Let's make a rule. What if we made a rule, Brian, that these people watching are not allowed to pitch somebody until they ask that question?
I love that rule. I really do. I'll tell a quick story. We had an agent on our team who spoke to somebody going through, and she was doing a great discovery. And one of the things that she asked is, are you working with anybody? And the person said, well, I've had 4 agents that I've been talking to. And Amanda, God bless her, if she's watching, hey, Amanda, she followed it up with this. So out of curiosity, what are you looking for in an agent? And here was the response. I'm not 100% sure, but I think I'd like to work with you because you're the first person who bothered to ask. True story.
That's so funny.
And it is. I mean, we got to think about it.
That's actually sad. It's sad that it took 5 agents for somebody to ask that basic question.
Well, and let's talk about that basic question. So I've talked to hundreds of agents about this subject. I want to say about 70%, maybe 65% of them used it when they were talking to a seller. I'm sitting at your kitchen table and I go, hey, what are you looking for in an agent? Makes perfect sense there. We're clearly sitting here talking about, having an agent, and it's clearly feels more like an interview, right? When you're sitting at someone's kitchen table, going over marketing or whatever, that feels like a job interview to me. I'm going to say it does for you as well, Dale.
Yeah.
But here's the flip side to that. Maybe 5% of agents I talked to did it with buyers. Why? Because it doesn't feel like an interview with a buyer. By the way, it's an interview with a buyer.
Yeah.
It
Absolutely
just feels differently. So
yeah, I think there's two reasons, Brian. I think there's two reasons that agents don't ask that question as often. And frankly, if you're sitting at a table with a seller and that's the first time you ask what they're looking for in an agent, you have failed as far as I'm concerned. Great effort, right? A dollar short and a day late. You should have asked that the first conversation that you had with them so that you can be what it is that they're looking for.
Absolutely.
And so with buyers, I think that there's a couple of reasons why they don't ask that. One is they assume the business, right?
Mm-hmm.
They just assume it. And then the other reason is, which is really annoying, is that they come out of the gate trying to sell whatever it is they think they should be selling, rather than trying to sell whatever it is that person is looking to buy, right? So they're like, oh, I'm an amazing realtor and I've got all these designations and I'm really great at negotiations and I really love to like coddle my clients through the process. Meanwhile, I'm a buyer and I'm sitting here and I want as little communication as possible, a great deal, and I want to do this fast. You just sold me lots of stuff I'm not looking to buy.
Yes.
Right? That's what happens all the time.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. So I talked to one of the agents on my team who is doing very well generating leads. And what I mean by that, he's got a whole bunch of clients that he's actively working with, but he, for whatever reason, he wasn't able to get them across the finish line. And we had a discussion about it the other day. One of the things that we figured out is he was giving people what he wanted, which is natural for us, by the way. It's
right.
100% natural. And he, and I got to give him credit because he literally sat down and said, well, when I bought a house, this is the experience I have. I don't like that experience. And he bought a house before he was an agent. And what I'm going to do is make sure nobody else has this negative experience that I have. Well, that's fine, but that's not what that was a negative experience for him. And
right.
So we spent hours working through this. We need to discover what our clients want. If you want to hold a client, keep a client, have that client be your client and not work with the 17 other agents who are calling them, give them what they want. That's why they're leaving, by the way. Not because they had nothing better to do, not because they, are jerks, not because they wanted to ghost you, because you weren't giving them what they wanted. Now, we're not going to be able to give everybody what we want, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say the easiest way to figure out what somebody wants is to ask them, what do you want?
Right, exactly. It's funny, this is reminding, so I think we're going to run out of time to listen to our calls today because I know you got a hard stop at the end of this. So everybody, I'm going to pull back the curtain a little bit. Brian and I were talking about recruiting before we got on here. And I was saying, man, recruiting agents is tough. And Brian said, yeah, it's really tough.
Yep.
And I bet you that when I run into problems, I just had an aha. I'm pretty sure that I'm approaching them selling what it is that I think I need to be selling rather than figuring out what they're buying and trying to sell it to them.
Right. I mean, theoretically, I've been studying this for a while now. It's just another sale, by the way. Getting an agent to join your brokerage, getting an agent to join your team, it's just a sale. It's no different than a buyer, a seller, or anything else. So it's the same idea. What do we do? Step one, everybody likes to buy stuff. Nobody likes to be sold anything. So I've watched it happen. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't name the person, but I watched yesterday on Facebook, somebody basically shredded every flippin' thing that wasn't a flat fee brokerage, just shredded it, just this big long post on Facebook. And I was like, why are you doing that? That's not what people want. That's not attractive. No one's going to go, boy, this guy is right. I want to go and screw all these other companies. And that's really what he was asking them to do. He was asking them to get angry so that they would leave their brokerage and come and be at his.
Yep.
That will work with some people, but guess what? You got angry people at your brokerage now. So,
right.
Somebody
It's funny.
this, and this is a key thing if you want to recruiting them, do it. They will join you for the same reason that they will leave you.
Okay, tell me what that is.
Well, so if they're going to join you because of commission splits, guess what? When they leave, somebody gave them a better commission split. If they're going to join you because they love your culture, they'll leave you because somebody has a better culture. Whatever the reason they came to you for is the reason they're going to leave you. And it makes perfect sense because that's what's important to them. And instead of going and talking about leads and this and this and this and all this, I've got a thing that shows that there's $176,000 of value to join my team. I've used it 0 times in a presentation, by the way. It's a good thing, and it kind of helps people. But my point of that whole thing is, to your point, Dale, we just ask them what they want. And by the way, 14, realistically, probably 14 contacts before someone leaves a brokerage A to come to brokerage B. 14.
Really? Wow.
Anyway,
that's
I don't know how we got on recruiting, but it is. It's fun. It's interesting. And
because it's a sale, right? Because it's a sale, and because in this conversation, I realized that I'm not taking my own advice. That's why.
The doctor is the worst patient, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The contractor's house is the shittiest one.
Exactly.
Okay, awesome. Brian, out of respect for your time, anything you want to add before we end for today?
I'm good, man. I really appreciate this. Was a great conversation for me, and I appreciate you bringing it up. And we're going to try and bring you value in a better way. I've talked about a lot of organization and stuff like that. Dale and I are going to work on making sure that we are more organized so that you can get the most value out of spending your 30 minutes with us. And thank you for spending it with us today.
Yeah, thanks, man. That means what we're trying to do is have topics for each of these and let you know what they're going to be ahead of time.
Awesome.
And listen to calls. All right, great. Everybody, thank you. Thanks for joining us. Jeff, Mickey, Linda, John, everybody else, good seeing you guys, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks,
Bye.
everybody.
Oh, look at that. We got a bunch of people on. We have 9 attendees. What's up, everybody? Brendan, Brian, David, Josh.
Let's follow up maybe
cool.
tomorrow or the next day and do some planning.
Sounds good, sir. All right, everybody, joining us. We'll see you later. See you, Brian.
Thanks.